GM, happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of the weekly crypto recap. My name is Josh Gordon and I'm your host. Now we got some great stories to cover today, covering some updates from the executive office of the US government, coming from big banks covering monetary policy, and also talking about the job market and some news from Unstoppable Domains, and of course, our community member and NFT/crypto project of the week. Before we jump in, I'm going to shout out, I got a new piece of art in the background. It's a physical print of my NFT, the Dead Ringers edition. Now, this is by Dmitry Cherniak, and he put out this NFT project. Super cool. You can dive into it online, Google it. But I just got this physical print. It's massive, so I wanted to shout this out. Let me know if you like it. I also got really lucky. I got the signed edition number 1 out of the whole collection, so I'm super stoked on it. It's beautiful. Not sure if it's going to stay there because it's just so big, so I might have to put it on a different wall that really fills the space better. But, wanted to give a shout out to some awesome art to start off this episode. All right, let's jump on into these news stories. All right, with our first story of the week, we're going to talk about President Biden and the long-awaited U.S. executive order on crypto that was just released. Now, U.S. President Joe Biden signed a first-of-its-kind executive order on cryptocurrencies on Wednesday. Now, this was directing federal agencies to coordinate their approach across the entire crypto sector. The executive order doesn't lay out specific positions like what the administration wants the agencies to do or adopt, and it does not impose new regulations on the sector. This is really an order that calls for every relevant agency to understand and research and learn about crypto, and then develop policy positions that address the risks and innovation that crypto can provide to the country. So really what's important about this is that it calls for every agency to support innovation in this space. So people were really speculating for a long time when the executive office puts out their executive order, their statement, is it going to be pro-crypto or anti-crypto? And it really reads pro-crypto. So one part of the order will direct the Treasury Department to create a report on the future of money, including how the current financial system might not meet consumer needs. This is a quote from the executive order. Digital assets can also provide opportunities for American innovation and competitiveness and promote financial inclusion. Innovation is central to America's story and our economy, generating jobs and opportunities, creating and building new industries, and sustaining our global competitive advantage and leadership. So I just find this really interesting. I'd love to see that it's pro-crypto, that the executive order is encouraging agencies to work together to figure out how we can use this tech to benefit the consumer and to take a hard look at the financial system that we currently have and start making decisions around, is the current way it's set up for banks and regulators really helping the, American citizen and, the broader global economy. So here's a stat that I'd like to point out too. 40 million Americans, or 16% of the US population, has reportedly invested in or is actively trading in cryptocurrencies. So we're at 16% right now. That is so far ahead of where we were even a year ago or 2 years ago. I remember when we were talking about stats of 1% of the US population or 2% of the US population had invested in crypto. And now we're at 16%. 40 million citizens is no joke. So I'm excited to keep seeing that number grow. That number is definitely going to grow. And the executive office and the broader government's thinking about it. So the federal agencies will evaluate their approach across 6 key priority areas within the digital asset sector: investor protection, global financial and system risk, mitigating illicit finance, U.S. leadership in global finance and tech, safe and affordable financial services, and supporting technological advances and digital asset development. So great to see. Also love to see that a central bank digital currency and the digital dollar are being talked about and being researched through this executive order. So much is yet to come. And, a lot of people are really saying this is a watershed moment in the crypto world. And we just had Adam Draper on the podcast. it dropped this past Wednesday, and he said something in there. This was pre-executive order coming out, but really looked at, he looks at the government making statements around crypto as just such a stamp of validation. Because when the government says, hey, we need to learn about this, we need to start thinking critically and putting policy together, that's the government validating and saying crypto is real, crypto is here to stay, and we need to start thinking about it because it's become that important. All right, story number 2. We're going to talk about a new world monetary order. So Credit Suisse, actually not sure how that's pronounced fully, but we've all heard of that bank. They had an analyst come out and they put together a report this week themselves that talked about how we are witnessing the birth of Bretton Woods 3, a new world monetary order centered around commodity-based currencies. Now, if you're not familiar with Bretton Woods, basically it happened in 1971 when President Nixon took the US dollar off of gold. And what this report is talking about is how we're moving to the next evolution of kind of that monetary world order. In the analysis, they say that if Bitcoin exists after all this is said and done, and we're talking about the inflation, the global conflicts, the current state of the US market, if Bitcoin exists after this downturn, after the inflation stops and things settle down again, that it has a very high likelihood of continuing even longer and being worth a lot of money. So if Bitcoin has survived for 10 plus years, there's been multiple attempts to kill it from governments, media, competitors, there's a very good chance it's going to be around for another 10 years and probably be worth in the 6 figures. So I like to stay away from real financial and price predictions because by no means am I a trader. I just think it's really interesting how this report is looking at how with the current economic environment we're in, talking about how how we are going through, another development of this cycle with new assets and making predictions on, it's been around. Once something has been around for a certain period of time, its likelihood that it will still be around increases like exponentially. So, if something's only been around for a week, the chance it's going to be around for 20 years, maybe not that big, but once something's been around for 10, 15, 20 years, chances are it's going to continue to exist after that. And with story number 3, I wanted to talk about the job market for Web3. Now, we've touched on this several times throughout our weekly recap videos, but the latest member of, the Web2 world transitioning to Web3 is Chad DePue, former Snapchat director of engineering. He's now going over to Uniswap Labs as a vice president of engineering. And this is what he said in a tweet. I've spent years building developer tools with innovators and creators and enjoy the challenge of bringing products from 0 to 1. Uniswap may be a household name for crypto natives, but the broader culture is just getting to know us. And I think that's true for a lot of crypto companies. In terms of crypto natives, we're familiar, but the broader market is still yet to learn about a lot of these really exciting companies and technologies and innovations. And over the next 5 years, 10 years, we're going to become household names too. I think it's really interesting because a couple weeks ago, we talked about Coinbase is hiring 2,000 new employees for 2022. We're seeing, Uniswap attract high caliber talent. Unstoppable Domains is attracting high caliber talent. We were actually just listed in a Forbes article on the best tech startups in the US. And so we were listed at number 6 in the tech category, number 39 overall. So, so good to see crypto companies getting recognition right now from top talent across the Web2 ecosystem. All right, talking about that Forbes article, this is a great transition into our Unstoppable news. So Unstoppable Domains was named one of America's best startup employers for 2022 by Forbes. We were ranked number 6 in the tech category, number 39 overall, and we're so proud of the team and culture we're building here right now. Shout out to everybody watching this at Unstoppable Domains. I appreciate you. Everyone at the company appreciates the hard work, and I think it's great to see that we're being recognized on a broader scale. So, since day one, our mission has been to return the power to the people, their right to control and own their data and govern their digital identity. So in order for us to reach our goals, we need a global team that is full of, revolutionaries, innovators, and we grew from 30 team members in the start of 2021 to 140 employees today. So awesome to see that growth. I mean, even for me just joining at the beginning of 2022, I think we've grown about 30 employees since then. So we're growing rapidly, and we have our sights set on a lot of big goals in the coming years. The article is also linked below in the description, so check that out. It's got some more information in there that you might find interesting. And in one more piece of unstoppable news, this week we just wrapped up our Unstoppable Women of Web3 24-hour event on International Women's Day. We had YouTube Live, Twitter Spaces running all 24 hours with really informative and influential women across the Web3 space. So I believe we had 80 plus partners join and participate, and they answered community questions, talked about education initiatives, and really just addressed a lot of Web3 questions and topics in the space. So it was awesome to see participation from partners and community members and just women from all over get together to learn. I learned a lot during sessions that I joined. So it's also cool to see that this is not a one-time initiative from the Unstoppable Women of Web3. Unstoppable Domains is a founding partner in this organization, but this is not a one-time thing. This is a call to action for diversity and inclusion in Web3 that's going to exist much longer than just International Women's Day. They've got plans for metaverse events and in real life events across the rest of the year and across geographies, like internationally. So I'm excited to see this play out and to see the diversity and education group continue to focus on training the next generation of talent with a goal of onboarding women in Web3. So shout out to everyone who participated. Super successful event. With our community member of the week, I want to give a big shout out to Mario Jaramillo.crypto. Now, I always see you supporting on Twitter and as a part of the UD fam, so I appreciate that. You also did something really cool this week. On March 10th, which is Thursday of this week, you announced it as Mario Day because that's MAR for March and then 10th. So that's kind of like the I and O in Mario. So you announced it as Mario Day to celebrate March 10th, and you actually bought some pretty neat Unstoppable domains to celebrate that. So I just thought that was super creative and cool, and I hope you enjoy your domains. So happy to celebrate Mario Day with you too. And to wrap it up, we've got our NFT and crypto project of the week. Now, this one's different than a traditional NFT project. I wanted to give a shout out to the Milk Road newsletter. Now, this is run by Sean Puri, who is going to be on our Unstoppable podcast. I'm actually interviewing him later today. This episode will be coming out in a couple weeks, but he runs his own podcast called My First Million and has also been running this crypto-focused newsletter that makes you smarter about Web3. And I just want to say, this is not sponsored by any means. I haven't talked to him about putting this in here. I'm a reader of this newsletter and I find it super valuable. I actually read it first thing every single day. It's like the perfect combination of being well written, informative. It breaks down the latest innovations and information, and it drops alpha, and it's funny. So shout out to the Milk Road. I'm enjoying that newsletter. We've got a link to subscribe to that if you're interested down below in the description, and yeah, check it out. It's just a daily newsletter, and every day it drops you information about Web3, and I find myself learning a lot from it, so I think you can too. That's it for this week's Crypto Weekly Recap. I'd really appreciate it if you could drop a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps us reach new audiences and continue to grow. We're dropping content basically every day of the week at this point. We've got Mondays with our Cut to the Crypto podcast, Wednesdays, the Unstoppable podcast, Fridays is this video, the weekly crypto recap, and we're releasing our YouTube clips coming from the podcast, which are short, digestible, insight-dense videos on the off days. So subscribe, I'd really appreciate it, and let us know what you want to hear from. Let me know if you like my new NFT art, my Dead Ringers edition on Twitter. So I'll catch you all next week, and yeah, appreciate it. I'm out.